Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over every single gun and the best attachments to run with them. Since Vanguard's pretty much over and Modern Warfare 2 is going to be released next month, I thought I'd just go I'd go over every single gun and show you guys what's the best in my opinion. Now keep in mind this is for pubs only, specifically SMD, but it does work for respawn. All you really need to change for respawn is the perks. Everything else is pretty much the same. So yeah, we'll just start off with the assault rifles first. Alright guys, so the first gun we're going over is the STG. Now before I actually show you guys the attachments, if you ever want to see clips of these attachments being used in game, just go through my old videos. I've pretty much used every single gun and the attachments have pretty much stayed the same, and that'll kind of give you a picture of how it actually works in game. I'll just be going over the attachments in this video, not actual gameplay. So the first gun is the STG. I already have the attachments saved right here, so this is pretty much what you want to run for this one. If you want me to go into detail, just find my STG video. This is pretty much the best in my opinion. Okay, next one. Okay, so the second AR is the automaton. Here are the attachments for this one. It's right here. This is pretty much the ranked version of the automaton. It's probably the best gun in the game. Well, cap second best. For pubs, I feel like the Cooper might be the better option. It all comes down to preference, but that's what I prefer. But yeah, this is what I recommend for the automaton. Next gun. Okay, so the next weapon is the Itro Burst. Now this gun can be really good if your shot is on point, but it can also be really bad if you suck. So if you look at the damage, it only does 20 if it's a body shot, but if you hit vital damage, which is pretty much the head, you can kill them in 2 shots. It is a burst weapon, so as long as your shots are on point, it's gonna be really good. Alright, next weapon is the bar. Now the bar used to be OP until it got nerfed. Now it has a lot of recoil, but it's still a 2-shot, and here are the attachments I recommend for it. This is it. It has a lot of recoil though. I don't recommend using it, but if you want a challenge, this is perfect. The next weapon is the AS-44. Here are the attachments for this weapon. This gun also isn't that good. I don't recommend it. It's like an average AR. There's better options. If you want to go something similar to this weapon, I just recommend using the STG, or you could just use this weapon, doesn't matter. Next weapon is the NZ41. This gun sucks. I hated this weapon, but if you want to use it, this is what I recommend. The next weapon is the Volkssturmgewehr, or however it's pronounced. Here are the attachments for this weapon. Now keep in mind, for every single weapon, the optic is just choice. I recommend the slate, but you can honestly use whatever you want. But yeah, next weapon is the Nikita Avt. This is a pretty good gun, I'm not gonna lie. It shoots really fast and it's accurate. This is what I recommend for this weapon. As you guys will start to notice, a lot of the attachments are the same for almost every weapon. In some cases, depending on the recoil, I do change a little bit of the attachments, but for the most part, they're all the same. Okay, so the next weapon is the KG-M40. Now I never upgraded this weapon to the max level. It's only level 47, but I do know what attachments to run. This is what I recommend. As far as the proficiency, I recommend either gung-ho or vital. If you look at the sprint to fire, it's kind of fast already, but if you want it to be even quicker, that's what I recommend. As far as for the kit, I always run on hand, but you can choose whatever you want, to be honest, but this is the one I recommend. Okay, next is the Cooper Carbine. Here are the attachments for this weapon. Personally, I think it's the best gun, but I mean, the downside is that it does aim pretty slow. If you look at the sprint to fire at ADS, it's like 600 milliseconds. But it is a 3-shot, and it's pretty OP in SD, since for the most part you're always pre-aiming or like slide canceling to get the aiming fast. So the next weapon is the Vargo S. Now this gun I also haven't upgraded all the way, but I do know what attachments to run. For the muzzle, instead of the MX, it's going to be the Mercury, and for the underbarrel, instead of the pistol grip, it's going to be the hand stop, and as far as the proficiency, it's going to be vital. And for the kit, on hand or whatever you like, to be honest, it's all preference, but everything else is the same. This weapon is a 3-shot, so it's pretty good. It's a pretty good AR, and if you look at the sprint to fire at ADS, it's pretty quick for an AR. The next weapon is the laser gun. Okay, so the last weapon in the ARs is the EX1. Now this is the coolest weapon in my opinion, because there's different variants and it's a freaking laser. So this is the one I recommend. This is a automatic version of the laser weapon. It just melts people and there's no charge up time. As far as the second best conversion, it's the sniper one. Literally, you just change this to this one, the exact same attachments, and it's a one shot. The only downside is that you'll show up on the mini map for however long you're charging it. So for SMD, it's not that cool. It's not that good, I mean, but for respawn, it's pretty fun. We're now going to go on to the SMGs. Okay, so the next class is the SMGs. In my opinion, the best class. So the first one, it's going to be the MP40. Here are the attachments. Now, keep in mind, as I said, the optic is preference. I used to run this one. Now I just use iron sights, or you can use slate. You know, it's all preference. The next weapon is the Sten. So for this gun, the attachments are going to be right here. Keep in mind, this is a burst weapon, but if you can hit your shots, it's pretty good. It sucks at long range though. I would try to avoid those. For the Tommy gun or the M1928, here are these attachments. This is pretty much a freaking Pbsh that has no recoil, and you regen health on kill. So this is pretty good for S&D. Okay, so the next gun is the Owen gun. This gun used to be trash until he buffed it. Now it's on par with all the other SMGs. And here are the attachments that, here are the attachments that I recommend for this gun. It's a 2-shot, so it's pretty OP, but the recoil, it's pretty bad for this gun. But if you can hit, you can kill him in 2 shots. For an SMG, that's really good, and I think it's OP, to be honest. The next weapon is the Type 100. This gun also used to be OP until they nerfed it. Now it's kind of bad. Okay, here are the attachments for this weapon. Gun Ho used to be really good. Now they nerfed it. So previously, Gun Ho gave you instant sprint fire. Now they added time back into it. So now it's still pretty good, but it's not as fast as it used to be. If you look at sprint fire, it's now 136. Previously, it was 0. But yeah, it's a 3-shot, so it's pretty good. The next gun is the Pbsh. This is pretty much a freaking tank of a gun. It has a hella bullets. Here are the attachments to this weapon, and there's literally no recoil. If you look at the vertical, it's 41. That's pretty low. It does take a lot of shots to kill someone though. So just keep that in mind. So the next weapon, it's the RA225. There's different variants for this weapon, to be honest, but the one that I like is for movement speed, specifically strafe speed. Here are the attachments for this weapon. The next one is the H4 Blixen. Let's see. Here's these attachments. It's a pretty slow firing weapon, but it is pretty decent in recoil. The next weapon is the Mark 05. Here are the attachments for this gun. There's a variant where you can run a Kimbo, but it sucks. I just recommend using one. But yeah, let's see what else. I think this is the last one. Okay, no, never mind. The well gun is next. Okay, so the next weapon is the well gun, and here are the attachments I recommend for this gun. I've noticed that a lot of people like to run the larger caliber rounds for this weapon, but it does burn or it destroys your freaking movement speed. So instead, I like running this. It's technically a 3-shot if you get a single headshot. If not, then it's a 4-shot. But the fire rate is increased for that purpose. So this is what I recommend. Now that was the last weapon, so we're going to be for this class. So now we're going to be moving on to the shotguns. Okay, so the next class is the shotguns. I'm not gonna lie, I've barely used these. I've used them maybe at the beginning of the season to get the camo, the atomic camo, and then since then I've never really used it. Besides the double barrel, sometimes I pull them out, when the other team is being stupid, man. Anyways, the first gun is the Einhorn. Here are the attachments for this weapon. Now keep in mind, I'm not sure if this is the best. These are old attachments that I used to use. I'm not sure if they work now, but this is what I recommend. This applies to all shotguns except for maybe the double barrels. Those are more updated. So the next one is the combat. Here's the attachments. Gracie. Lastly, the double barrels. This is what I recommend. This is the best in my opinion. So now we're going to go on to the LMGs. Okay, so the first LMG is the MG42. Here are the attachments for this weapon. Next one is the DP27. Which one is this? The Type 11. The Bren. The Whitley. This gun used to be freaking OP. Still kind of is. I recommend running it with piercing vision. The UGM8. And that's actually it for the LMGs. Next is the Marksman. Okay, so for the Marksman rifles, the first one is the M1 Garand. Here are the attachments for this weapon. Next is the SVT-40, the G43. The last Marksman is the M1916-1. Here are the attachments for this one. And yeah, keep in mind, I don't really use these as well, so the attachments may be a bit off, but in my opinion, these are the best. So the next class is the snipers. Now in this game, quick scoping kind of sucks. There's only really one weapon you can use for quick scoping, that's the car. For the rest, you'll notice that it's kind of slow paced. It's meant for kind of pre-aiming for S&D, but you can use these in respawn. So the first one is the Type 99. Here are the attachments. Next one is the 3-line. For quick scoping, the car. The last one, the Gorenko. And we're actually done. So for melee, this is self-explanatory. Literally, it's just a freaking riot shield. We're gonna be moving on to the handguns. Okay, for the last class, it's the pistols. Now for the launch and melees, there isn't attachments, so we're just gonna skip over them. But starting with the rat. Now personally, I like to use this weapon as a movement speed build rather than actual weapon to fire. So here are the attachments. This is the best movement speed that isn't a melee weapon. Next is the top break. 1911. This is actually really good sidearm. Clouser, this gun kind of sucks. Machine pistol. If your shots are accurate, people will literally ask you for this class setup because it's really OP. And then for the Valois, however it's pronounced, there's no attachments, so we're actually done. Now we're going to go over the perks, lethals, and tacticals, and killstreaks. Okay, now for the perks, lethals, and tacticals. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I play S&D, and so all my classes are based around that. If you notice the names of my loadouts, you'll notice that it goes cold-blooded, goes dauntless, then it does the same thing again, cold, speed, goes speed, dauntless speed, cold nades, goes nades, dauntless nades, and then a random one just called sniper speed. So basically what that means is, for these first three, it is what it is. So it's cold-blooded, ghost, and dauntless, but with ninja. Now, if it's a map where you need to get to the middle first, like that kind of determines who wins the round, whoever gets to the bomb site first. For example, on Paradise, I believe it's called, you want to use a speed class. So it's the same thing as the first three, just instead of ninja, it's double time. And the last three, it's nades. So I equip demolition and use sticky bombs. So if I need to like run to a area and nade it immediately to, you know, get easy kills, this is what I use. It's mostly on that one snow map with the gondola, or like the ski lift. Forgot what the map name is. This is really good for the building. Forgot which bomb site goes in there. I think it's B. And this class setup, this is literally just random. So I sometimes use shotguns, I sometimes use snipers. It kind of just depends on the map and the people. Sometimes I use shotguns, so I pull mine out. As far as the lethals, I like using the gammon bombs. For the nades, obviously use stickies. I guess you could use like just regular grenades, but stickies are better. As far as the tacticals, I use smokes. They're really good for a solo player. If you're playing with a team, I don't really think you need these. You could probably use like stuns, but for a solo player, I like using smokes to flank a lot. I forgot to mention why I use these three perks: cold-blooded, ghost, and dauntless. So for cold-blooded, I use it to counter high alert. If you notice, literally all my classes use high alert because it's that OP, and everyone also uses the same thing. So cold-blooded counters that. You don't technically have to run high alert, but I recommend it. It's the best out of all these, especially for S&D. Second best, I would have to say tracker, because it doesn't show the skull marks, so you can kind of flank without them even knowing. For ghosts, for UAVs, and dauntless for piercing vision. Piercing vision used to be really OP. They kind of toned it down, but it's still, you know, strong. They did patch some penetrable walls, but not all of them. So I use it from time to time. And then lastly, as far as killstreaks go, it's really preference. As a solo player, I like using intel perks. So for example, intel, spy plane, and local informant. Sometimes I really just want to destroy the lobby, so I'll use the ball turret, but this is more fun. It kind of like pushes you to get a nuke, because it's only gun skill. And field upgrades, ninja, obviously. Don't use anything else. I guess you could use armor plates, but they kind of suck. Field mics, the radius is kind of small. Don't recommend it. And yeah, that's about it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you have any comments about any of the classes that I made, like if they suck, for example, let me know, and maybe show us your class. Anyways, thanks for watching, and peace.